Hello traders, welcome to the weekly market overview. Let's do some sound check, and if you see my screen as well, please let me know in the chat. Good to see you live again, guys. It's been a while doing this live, but it's always fun to do this live and see most of you, and answer some of your questions if you have any. Remember one thing, there is a delay between me or my voice and the chat. It's like 20-second lags or something. So if you ask any questions, please give me some time to be able to answer it, because I will get the chat very fast, but until you get the answer, it may take some time. So once again, welcome to everyone, and hopefully you guys like this session. As usual, please hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, do not forget to subscribe. So let's get the risk disclaimer out of the way. Please read it carefully to understand the risk involved in trading, and to really know that this is not a signal in any way, guys. So please consider that very, very carefully. We will start with by looking at some of the news event for next week, and as you see, we do have some major news events for the upcoming week ahead of us. It's most about sterling, USD, and the New Zealand dollar. As you see here, all the major events are about those currencies. So we start on Monday with GDP month-on-month for sterling. Manufacturing production as not as important as the services, but we have after that the prelim GDP quarter-on-quarter, which is going to be important. Tuesday, couple of important speech, Governor Carney, and after that Fed Chair Powell to have a speech. And Super Wednesday for New Zealand, official cash rate, monetary policy, inflation expectation, and the press conference. So Wednesday, you really need to be careful on those New Zealand pairs trades if you have any. Then we have CPI year on year, very important for the sterling, CPI and core CPI for the US dollar, gonna also be a market mover. Government or speaks also for the New Zealand. Thursday, core retail sales and PPI and retail sales month on month, and also retail sales for sterling. So as you see, a lot of sterling, New Zealand, and US dollar news. It's gonna be a bumpy week, so keep an eye on that. Very, very important. Okay. And let's start with our chart. As usual, we start with the Dixie, which had a very strong week last week, 7 days in a bullish days in a row. Very strong push after the retest of this 95.20 area here, which was an important level. Looking left, it was acting as resistance here. Here as well, we broke below it to then find support and push pretty strongly last week on this level. So let's go down to the daily, and we see that, as I told you, we had 7 days bullish days in a row, and we tested last week this key resistance level at this area, where we also have monthly R1 looking left here at this area. Sorry, looking left, it's not left, looking right. We have the monthly R1 pivot R1 here, and as you see, it is an important key resistance level. It is a major swing high here that need to be taken out, and if that happens, then this will open the door for another push toward monthly R2 on the dollar. So if you see here, the 200 moving average been acting also as nice support at this level, and a pretty strong bounce to the upside after a pretty strong week to the downside before that. So the level we need to keep an eye at is, of course, this area up here on the 4 hour. You see it clearly here. It is a strong move with very little corrections. As you see here, we had at the first touch a bearish engulfing candle, which is a good signal for possible selling, but then it found support and pushed back up for another retest. The retest here, the first touch was rejection, and Friday we pushed all the way down to 96.45 area to find support again. So I still see this area here as a possible trouble level, and maybe the level that we may get some correction before a bigger move to the upside. But there's no need to guess what will happen. There is still no clear sign of the bears in this market. The only good sign we had was this bearish engulfing candle, and who knows if this area breaks, if we get a 4-hour breaks above this previous wick here, that will open the door for more upside. I would not like it because we are at the overbought conditions. I think even on the daily here, almost on the overbought. 4-hour, we are on the overbought on the RSI. And my first view here, what I'm looking for is maybe some kind of correction early in the week before the continuation. That would be the best idea actually. To be clear about this DB correction, you want to see a break below this previous low here. If that happened, then we probably gonna go down toward the 38.2 area, or even lower toward the 50% retracement and the monthly pivot point area down here as a possible level for that correction to end. So once again, keep an eye on if that happen, if we start getting this correction. We need to see a break below the neckline, then this double top could be confirmed, and to give us that deeper correction before any kind of continuation, if that will happen to the upside. Gold still holding the highs. We go and do a top-down analysis on that as well. As you see, gold broke above this high here, which was the last line of defense before the 1325 up here. So we broke above that. We reached all the way to test that 1326 area, and when we go down to the daily, we see that we tested this previous high to the pip before making the correction to the downside to then start pushing higher. So my expectation was to test this broken structure here. That would be even better level to try to look for long at, but we didn't really test this broken structure yet. We've got some kind of flag here that got broken out. We have a breakout above this. We've got that on Friday, and as far as we're holding above this 1310 area, there is still possibilities to push once again toward 1326, which is a major key resistance that also need to be broken for more upside. So that is those are the main levels we are looking at, and for me, as far as this is not broken, there is still some kind of consolidation to happen here on gold. Okay, hello Carlos, welcome buddy. Thank you very much, thank you very much. Another scenario would be if gold will push back down once again. That would be a real retest to this broken structure. Yeah, so at this level is also a interesting area to look at for a possible bounce, because looking left here, we see that this area been acting as good resistance. We broke above it, we retested here before the continuation, and we have the 200 moving average on the 4-hour coming from below as well. Oil, let's go to the weekly on that as well. So oil did a nice 38.2 retracement after this very strong bounce to the downside, and last week a strong bearish engulfing candle happening at that 38.2 yearly pivot point of 2019 at that level. And if we look left on the weekly, we see that this area here been acting as good resistance in the past. So Oil is now stuck between two levels that we're gonna see more clearly on the daily, and those levels are this area down here, the 51-ish area as support, and up here around the yearly pivot point as resistance. So in my opinion, this market objective should be to test this level down here, yet another leg to the downside toward the monthly pivot point and this previous structure of support before any kind of bounce to the upside. So my expectation is possibly that we keep trading inside this range for a while until we have a break out of it. So keep an eye on yearly pivot point up here, the 55 gonna be an interesting level, and the monthly pivot point around the 51, even a little bit lower toward the 50.50 still also could be considered good support. Looking left here, the 50.50 level was a good supporter as well previously. And we also have the 200 moving average on the 4-hour could act as dynamic support. As for now, I think the market objective here is to test this these lows down here on oil. EURUSD, very strong push to the downside. We've got this move nicely in my trading room since we've been talking about this area of possible support, but if that got broken, we said a break here would be to look for a retest and keep selling rallies. We've got a nice part of this move, and still there is some more room to the downside. So if we start back with the weekly time frame here, you see that on the weekly, EURUSD still actually inside this range. Yeah, nothing has changed here. We're still ranging inside this box. Yet again, we're testing the 200 moving average on the weekly. We almost broke and closed below it as well. And on the daily, you see it clearly, this level gonna be an interesting area to look at. This is the key support on EURUSD, and I think the market objective is to try to break or at least test these lows down here. After this low, we start thinking about a test of these levels if this area got broken. So this is really a level to keep an eye at that support area. We have the monthly S1 as well for February. It is also important when you get an S1 and a structure at the same time, could act as good support. Welcome Jess from Saudi Arabia. Welcome, nice to see you here, buddy. Adam, welcome as well. So we need to keep an eye on this continuation. As far as we are below this trend line, EURUSD should be a sell. As you see, when we go down to the 4-hour time frame, the structure is a little bit different. We have this support. If broken, then we start thinking about these levels, and the last line of defense on EURUSD gonna be, of course, this last high here. That was some kind of fake out here previously. As you see, we broke below it to then just as fast move back up once again. So this would be the last line of defense before we start thinking about this next level down here. So there's much to happen, and since we are only talking about 1 week, so it's better to keep it short and clean here so you don't sit here for a couple of hours and hearing me just talking and talking and talking. So the first level, once again, monthly S1, possible area for at least a short-term bounce to the upside. If broken, then to test these lows down here that also may act as support, and the last line of defense is down here. Now, what will happen if, let me clean these trades are done, so we do not need them. You should have some kind of filter here as let's say the 20, or if we're gonna have the 10 on the 4-hour, after this move to the downside, seems like the 10 simple moving average acting as nice dynamic resistance. In my opinion, if that got broken to the downside, we've got any bounce here and we break and close above it, then we should have a nice correction, at least toward the retest of these structures up here as a possible level to look at for a possible sell. Okay, so pretty interesting level to look at for EURUSD next week. You really need to keep an eye on this level. Look how we left it the last time we tested. We moved very strongly to the upside. Even earlier we pushed very strongly from here. Here we broke just below it to then give another bounce to the, so we're testing a very nice edge on this structure, and it would be the level that you should be watching for first as possible support. Looking at the dollar, when we looked at the Dixie, we saw that the Dixie was already at that double top, so here, so this is almost the same area. So if the Dixie to really make that correction, then EURUSD is to make the correction to the opposite side, which is to the upside, a bounce up from here. Sterling USD also been going south the couple of weeks before. After this strong push to the upside, we start looking for some kind of correction. We've got an inside bar followed by a bearish candle here, tested an interesting area where we have monthly pivot point, and on the daily we see it more clearly. My first view was to look for, after the break, to look for the first retest of this level for a possible continuation. We didn't get any signal to for a bounce here. We broke very easily back below the 200 moving average on the daily to then test this kind of support level, and on Thursday we've got rejected strongly after the vote for rate hike or not rate hike, for not hiking from the BOE. And the first reaction was a shoot to the downside, reached the 200 moving average on the 4-hour, and then bounced back up. Now, after that bounce, one was thinking that, okay, we may get a retest or some kind of correction and continuation, but that didn't happen. As you see, we're still below the trend line. It is still looking a bit pressured. I think it is easy traded here. Any close below the monthly pivot point and below the bodies of these candles here, that could signal more downside, so something like this. Or if we break above or out of this box and above the trend line, to look for some kind of another push to the upside to test these previous highs. So we are sitting at a pretty interesting level for Sterling USD. Next week gonna be very interesting week for the sterling, because we do have all these news release for the sterling, and the Brexit gonna be very interesting, because we have the vote on the 14th of February, and we gonna surely see a lot of Brexit headlines. So you really need to keep an eye on those headlines if you're gonna trade the sterling next week. USD JPY still crawling here around this area. The 110 was a very strong resistance so far. So let's go to the weekly and see what happened. We had this push to the downside. We had the flash crash testing all the way to the bottom here, and then start pushing higher. Now on the way up, I told you guys that now we broke back above, look for retest and continuation. The market objective should be to reach the 110. We've done that. We've got that move already. Then we've got another some kind of correction, and we were looking for another retest of the 110. So still we are trying to break above this, but it failed every time. If we look on the 4 hour, you see how many times the bulls try to break above this 110. And yeah, we have this nice range to keep an eye at for now for UJ. Last couple of days was all of them below the 109.80-ish area, could not test the 110, still looking pressured. In my opinion, a break below 109.50, that should mean that we may move another leg to the downside, maybe toward the 109 area, or you want to see a break above the 110 once again to see the continuation. So those are the scenarios for now. We've been going inside this range for a couple of weeks now, so it is really time for some kind of breakout. A strong breakout is to happen. The question is, are we gonna get the breakout to the upside or to the downside? We need to keep an eye on gold. We need to keep an eye on the stock markets like the Dow, Nikkei. Those gonna be the markets to keep an eye at because they are heavily correlated with UJ. So keep an eye on those as well if you're gonna trade this. But as for now, keep playing this box until you see a break out of it. You see it here on the 1 hour. It's very clear range that we are trading inside. And last week we moved it to this lower and another micro range we are trading in. We could not trade out of it for a couple of days. USD CAD, pretty interesting chart here as well. We've been watching this channel for a while. I was expecting the test down here to really reach the bottom of the channel. We didn't, since we had the 200 moving average on the daily as support. We're gonna take a look at that. And last week we've got a nice bullish engulfing on the weekly time frame on this market. There's no close above the week before. That would be even more strong a signal, but on the daily here you see it clearly. We have this first impulse, which is first leg. We have a lower high and another major lower low here, which tested the 200 moving average, traded just below it to then break back above it and break out of this trend line. Now, there's one thing to consider here. Even though we broke above this minor high, this leg here is actually another this is only an A, B, and C, D like this. So this whole thing, the blue line, let me make it a little bit thicker. I see this as one leg only and an A, B, C, D inside that leg. So that make this swing here, this swing here, is the major swing high that need to be broken to really say that this downtrend is over, because we had major swing with a lower low here, then a major swing with a lower high, and now we have another major swing with a lower low. And what I want to see here when this market, or if this market continues to test these levels up here, is a pretty interesting area of resistance. So we should keep an eye at possible correction from that level if that happened. Now, on the news event last week from the CAD, we got nice employment numbers. So the first reaction was to the downside, to then start pushing back up, making a 618 almost correction on this whole move, to then start going back down again. So it looks something like this. Yeah, so here was the news event. Never chase a news event, wait for it, sell the 618, and then what I was expecting was another test, but we didn't get that late Friday, so it was just to close this scalp trade. As for now, still short term, a bullish market clearly on the 4-hour. Longer term on the daily still could be considered bearish as far as no break above previous high here. Very easy to see on the chart as well. So the levels to look for next week, of course, first is down here a possible area of support, up here a possible area of resistance. For more upside, we need to see a break out of it, then that will open the for more correction to the upside. Otherwise, if this does not hold as support, then we're going for another leg to the downside. Okay, so you need to be thinking about it like this, otherwise you will get confused. Major swing still not broken, that means we could still look for possible continuation to the downside. These small moves here, those are the moves that may confuse new traders. Now we have a break above structure high and this should keep going to the upside. No, it's not that way. You need to be a significant high that got broken, not just a minor one as we have here. Okay, I hope that give you some help on the way when you get confused about the trend. Aussie USD also pretty interesting here. On the weekly you see that we still have another lower high, lower than this high here, which is a major swing. Last week we've got a bearish engulfing closing below the week before, but it didn't really close below this last line of support. But still, it looks very heavy on the retest of the 200 moving average on the daily, almost to the pip. We tested that after breaking above a major swing high actually. This signaling the break above this leg here, breaking above this major swing, signaling that we should be looking for retest on and continuation, but that didn't happen, and this market kept pushing to the downside. We last week found support yet again at previous structure low and this area just below the monthly pivot point. So we are sitting at support. Looking at the 4-hour, you see it also clearly what kind of support we have here, and still below the monthly pivot point. So we should keep an eye on this level as this line here. We broke below previous structure, so this on the 4-hour still a possible bearish market continuation to the downside, maybe to test this area down here as well. This is gonna act as possible support. So on the 4-hour time frame, we have a clear break below this previous low. Daily time frame, we do not have a close below this low. So this is telling us, since the daily did not close below that 4-hour break, could be considered a fake out, and maybe could give us some kind of correction to the upside. If that happened, we should consider to look at the level here, 0.7158, as a possible level where we may meet some troubles on the way up. Okay, so keep those levels on your chart. Up here, possible resistance, a break below this, that will open the door for more downside to test these levels, or maybe even lower if that got broken. USD Chief, let's go to the weekly on this one as well. As you see on the weekly time frame, we do have a break just above previous week high. So still to be considered a market that may continue to the upside. Looking at it like this, we broke above and looking for possible continuation. On the daily, we have the break here above this previous high, still considered a bullish market, but the RSI was at the extreme overbought, start reversing to the downside. Hanging man formation here with this candle and this that closed below previous low here on Thursday. So Friday closed below Thursday low, which confirm the hanging man formation. Hanging man formations mean that we do have a possible reversal. So I am looking to see if we're gonna break below this trend line. If that happened, then there is a possibility for that correction to be all the way down to this level before any kind of continuation. So if we go down to the 1 hour, you see it more clearly here. Yes, we have the neckline here is broken. If you want to be more sure, you wait for a break below the trend line, look for some kind of retest and the continuation toward maybe not all the way down, because you could have some trouble at these lows down here. Around the NFP low could be a possible level where to find support. So this rounded top here looking good for possible reversal, but we still want to see a break below the trend line, yeah, to be more sure about it. New Zealand USD also dropped like a stone. First drop was based on those Aussie news release. When the Aussie start dropping, the New Zealand will follow, and then we've got bad New Zealand news from New Zealand about employment rate, and we've got the next move to then start going sideways. After such a huge move to the downside, it's normal to see some sideways movement. So if we look at the weekly here where we are at, we see that we had pretty nice first leg, another higher low, and another move to the upside. Now if this move broken previous structure here, then we were thinking about the CD completion to be about monthly or 2 previous structures here. That didn't happen. We failed to make a new high. The 200 moving average on the weekly also acted as a nice dynamic resistance, and we've got last week this nice bearish engulfing candle. So there is a possibility that this market test down here around the monthly S1 as a possible market objective. So on the daily, that would be down here around the monthly S1 as a possible market objective to reach this level. So on the daily, we have higher low, another higher high. We failed to make new high, and this strong drop. I think the market objective should be to reach this monthly S1. As you see now, we're trading back below the 200 moving average. But on this chart right now, we could not consider using that 200 much because it was not respected here. You see the market breaking above it, breaking below it, breaking above it, breaking below it. So I will not be using the 200 right now as confluence area. What I will use instead is this market structure down here that been acting as good support and resistance as first level to look at for a possible bounce, or as first level of market objective on this move to reach this level. Below that, as you see, that will open the door to start thinking about a test of this level down here or these lows. So this area gonna surely be a key level that may be defended next week. So if we've got this move, some kind of correction as shown here, a bounce to the upside toward this broken structure, and the monthly pivot point is to look for a possible sell, and that would be the reason to think for this continuation toward the monthly S1. Or if the market open later tonight and keep pushing down here, to look for a possible bounce from this level, because it is a pretty interesting possible support area on New Zealand USD. New Zealand CAD, also a nice structure as you see. Let's go to the daily and see where we are at. On the daily, this is the key support level we should be looking at. Tested here, didn't break. Tested here, didn't break. Here as well. But what's interesting here, that all these times when we try to push from here, we could not break above. Here we could not break above, and we still looking very, very heavy. So there is, I think that after now this market moved to this lower range, could not make new highs. The main idea that we may break now on this fourth attempt. If that happen, I'm mainly looking to see if we're gonna have a break below this, because the opportunity here is very, very big. Looking left, there is not much structure to hold it, and that trade would give us the best risk to reward if it happens to the downside, because a break to the upside here would send us to another the top of this channel and monthly R1 previous structure. So to the downside we have much more room to use for our take profit. So before that happen, you have this range that we have here now on the 4 hour. Expect possible bounce from here, expect possible bounce from here as well if that happened before the break. But if the break below structure happens here, there is only one way, and that is to the downside. I want to see a strong break, maybe some kind of correction, to then sell the continuation all the way down here. Pretty nice chart to look at on this one. Aussie CAD, we've got this nice short. It wasn't enough though, because it was late in the week, so we didn't really catch more of it. So what we wanted to see if we break below this previous structure, because if that happened, that will open the door to test the lows of this flash crash move. So let's go down, up to the daily and see where we are at. We just broke a major structure level here. We did the retest, and we've done another bounce back down. So my way of thinking is that we may test the monthly S1, or maybe even fill this whole wick down here. So keep an eye on this, keep going on the 4 hour. As far as this structure holding as resistance, you should still try to sell it as a possible market objective to maybe fill this whole wick here, or at least test the monthly S1 on this chart. Okay, that was Aussie CAD, and let's go to the Dow to not make this session very long. The Dow, we broke above the 200 moving average on the daily, which is a very, very important moving average. As you see here, been acting as nice support every time it got tested, until we've got here start going sideways. It was not respected, but now we broke back above it. We broke above it, we did a retest, and Friday we've got a nice little bounce out of that. So the question is, are we going to keep pushing higher here, or was it just some profit taking on the week or the day before another break below? As far as this structure here is not broken, then there is only one way, and that is to test the previous highs. But if we break this structure, then there is a possibility for a deeper correction to the downside. But as you see on Friday, the main idea was that we in our trading room to look for a retest and possible bounce. The retest went pretty deep here before the bounce happened, yeah, and we just broke above a previous structure on the 1 hour. So what we should be doing here is keep an eye on this structure here on even on this time frame on the 1 hour. If got retested, and give you some bullish evidence to look for a bounce as first, but a break below this, that would mean that we open the door for more downside on this market. Then we have the FTSE, which been also a pretty nice performing market after this head and shoulder formation and the break above the trend line. I said look for continuation, guys, and that we may test the monthly R1. We tested above the monthly R1 and tested previous structure highs here, pretty important highs that got tested. to then get this evening star formation and the push to the downside. My view was that we may get a retest on the daily back to the neckline here, a deeper correction before any kind of continuation, but we didn't get that whole move, since on Friday we followed what happened on the Dow. So the FTSE also did a push down, and when the Dow started moving to the upside, the FTSE followed. My question here is, are we gonna hold below the monthly R1 for another push lower, or if we break above it, then we are going to test these highs once again? This area still the key resistance. We didn't really test the highs up here yet, but we may test that next week, who knows. And we should keep an eye on this structure. It is really the last line of defense for the bears here, because if this got broken to the upside, as you see when we look left, there is not much to hold resistance until we reach these areas up here. Okay, but as first we saw, the first move from this level was very strong bearish. We broke below this neckline. There is also a possibility on the 1 hour time frame that what we're doing right now is just a retest of this broken structure to then give us another leg to the downside. This is also very possible. Looking at this bearish move here, we didn't have any kind of this bearish move on all the way up here. Yeah, this whole move were very strong, and there was no clear signs of the bears until we reached this level. So this shift in momentum here could continue on a possible retest of the neckline. So that is another scenario that you should keep an eye at. Hello Hashim from London, welcome buddy. And the DAX, we have here another interesting structure. What happened on the daily here on the DAX, you see that we broke this major low and even this major low. So this short-term bullish move is now over, since we're not making higher highs and higher lows. What we've done instead was that we broke a couple of major lows, and my expectation is this to maybe keep pushing down here as a possible market objective, to test this area down here once again. And if we crunch this chart, you see that we have this whole move here coming, or this whole structure coming from back here, the highs of August 2016 and September and October been tested here. So there is a possible market objective now after breaking these levels to test these lows down here. And on the 4 hour time frame, you see it more clearly. We had this nice range like this. We broke below it. The RSI is at the extreme oversold, so some kind of correction here could be good to have. Take some Fibonacci retracement and see what we got. And I think, of course, it's always the 38.2 as first level to look at for possible trouble. But in my opinion, this area here, the NFP level, the area between the 50 and 618, could be an even better structure to look for possible sell to test this market objective, which I expect it could be a possible market objective down here. After now we broke this trend line, it's over here. So some kind of retest and continuation, at least short term, is possible. And if we reach all the way to 618 area here, this could be a nice kill zone to look at for that next bounce to the downside, if to happen. Okay, so yeah, that was the last market. Let me check as usual, guys. Couple of minutes for questions, or if you have any charts, please write that in the chat. If you still did not hit that like button, please do that for me. I see 11 likes and 20 viewers right now. We've been between 20 and 30 viewers coming in and out, so it doesn't make you harm to click that like button for me to make those videos ranking a little bit higher for more people to see them and get the benefit out of them. So yeah, please let me know if you have any questions. I will give it a couple more minutes and wait for your questions if you have any. Otherwise, we're gonna call it a day. DJ Liam want us to look at Euro New Zealand. Of course, we do. So Liam, still the same view as I mentioned in the trading room. Liam is a great trader that done, how many pips you done, Liam, last week? Was it above 1,000 pips? He's doing a great job. Liam, I still think it is the same view, buddy. Monthly pivot point, still our support level, but we do have this area of resistance up here around the 200 moving average that, as you see, been acting as nice resistance. That is the main resistance we have for now. So as far as we are inside this range, nothing will change. What could happen also if we break below the range here, let me take off these. What we do have here is a possible 2618 trade. So we had the double bottom, and after the double bottom we broke the neckline and moved all the way to this area. So the 618 happened to be at the neckline down here. So it is a pretty interesting possible 2618 trade if we break below previous lows. Otherwise, this should be still our support and looking for maybe a retest of these levels or monthly R1. But if the break happens, as I said, you have a pretty nice 2618 trade. For those of you who do not know what is a 2618, please do a search here over my channel. I have a video about it where I explain what to do. But mainly what we want to do is to put a limit buy order here just above the 618. Our first target gonna be previous highs. Stop loss, of course, below previous structure low here. And that will give you like more than one-to-one trade. But we still need to see the break below this structure down here. Okay. Rana, I've done gold in the start of this session, so please rewind this video, scroll back, and you will be able to watch that. You're welcome, crypto trading. You're welcome. Rana, please, I done gold, buddy. You just go back and watch it. I will do USD Norwegian krona for Michael. Where is my real chart about USD Norwegian krona? I think I had one with more details. Let me check that, buddy. Maybe it was on another chart. We had some kind of head and shoulder that didn't really go our way on USD Norwegian krona. Here we go. Yeah, it was this main idea that didn't really work yet, but because the main idea was that we had possible head and shoulder. We broke below the neckline. It wasn't a major break, so the main idea was that we wanted to look for a retest and continuation, but there was really no good signal there. And right now this is not our right shoulder anymore, because on the daily we have a break above that. So this is not our main right shoulder anymore. And let me go to the weekly. And on the weekly, we still have this area acting as support after this bullish engulfing. So the main idea for that head and shoulder is for now invalidated. And since we broke above previous highs, as it happened here, above previous neckline, there is a possibility for a continuation here actually. I want to put my monthly pivot on this one to see if we have, yeah, I think the monthly R1 on this structure here could give you some kind of trouble, or give this push to the upside some kind of correction. As you see on the RSI, we are at the overbought very soon. 4 hour time frame, we broke above the 200 moving average to then retest and keep pushing. So yeah, once again, R1 on the monthly, previous neckline here of this shoulder, head shoulder, could be a possible level to give you some kind of correction, but this is now a bullish continuation, and until we're not breaking back below this, you should keep looking to buy the dips on this market. What I consider looking at as well here is if we get some kind of retest of the monthly pivot point level where we had these previous structure here on the 4 hour, to look at that level as a possible correction level and maybe another push to the upside. Based on this structure, I would not say short this market right now, because that head and shoulder scenario is failed now. This here is really clear break above previous high, so we should be looking for some kind of continuation toward at least monthly R1 on this market. Okay. Yes, good. Any other questions, or shall we call it a day, guys? We've done like more than 50 minutes now, so I think that should be good. I don't see any other questions, so yeah. Thank you very much for joining me live today, guys. Please share the link of this video. Let more traders get the benefit of these live sessions and trade ideas, and yeah, why not to help someone else finding the right way of trading. For those of you who want daily videos each and every day, I do morning briefing videos in my trading room. All you need to do is to go to my site and go to www.pafx-pafx.com and yeah, join our trading room. We have 14 days trial for only $1 now. After that, $39 a month, and you will get daily videos and tons of updates during London session and New York session. See you next week. Bye bye everyone.